Good evening, ladies. Before we begin, let me introduce some members of the town government that act as advisors to this board. To my left is Valerie Manzo, counsel to the board. To her left is Allison Murray, a planner in the planning department. To her left is John Bongino, town building director. Now let me tell you why you're here tonight. New York State statute requires that any town that adopts zoning must also have a Board of Appeals to act as a relief valve so that those persons agreed by strict application of zoning ordinance can seek relief without the expense of going to court. Town board can give a Board of Appeals additional powers, such as special exception approvals, site plan approvals. In Smithtown, the town board has given this board authority regarding certificate of existing use and some special exception uses. The most common kind of application before the board are area variances. Area variances deal with dimensions such as lot area, frontage, height, setbacks, and parking spaces. New York State statute mandates that the board must consider the following five criteria in area variances. When you come to the podium to present your application, you need to address these 5 areas. They're posted here for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created. Number 2, whether the applicant has other feasible alternatives. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether an adverse impact on the environment will be created. Number 5, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created. The statute requires the board to balance the interest of the applicant and those of the neighborhood or community. This statute further requires that the board shall grant the minimum variance shall deem necessary and adequate, and at the same time preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety, and welfare of the community. The board has the power to impose reasonable conditions for granting variances. Special exception variants are different than area variance. When we have a special exception application before us, I will explain the different criteria. Regarding procedure, cases will be called in order that they are advertised. When your case is called, please come forward, submit your affidavits and mailing receipts to Mrs. Murray, and then you will be sworn in at the podium and be given the opportunity to explain to the board why you need the variance. After the applicant is done speaking, all interested parties will be given one opportunity and only one opportunity to be heard. So please organize your thoughts, keep your remarks factual that are related to the case. Then I will ask the applicant to come back to the podium to answer your concerns. The board will then close the case and reserve decision. After all the hearings are closed, the board will review the cases and decide some of them. Others will be reviewed at a later date. There are 3 ways you can find out the results of the case. Number 1, you can wait until after the public hearing, but there's no guarantee the board will act on your case tonight. Number 2, you can call the planning department tomorrow afternoon. Number 3, applicants can wait and be notified by mail. We do have some adjournments. First case is case 16451. Sharon Sokolis, 59 Croft Lane. Was there anyone here for that case? Okay. That has been adjourned to July 26th. Next case that is adjourned is case 16459, Barbara and John O'Mara, 201 Camden Avenue, St. James. Was there anyone here for that case? That is adjourned to July 12th. Next case that is adjourned is case 16263, KP Associates. That's on Town Line Road and Pulaski Road. That's adjourned to September 27th. Anyone here for that one? Okay. Next case that's adjourned is case 16441, AAA Properties, LLC, 797 Middle Country Road. Anyone here for that case? That is adjourned to July 26th. Next case that is adjourned is case 16445, Virginia Surrey on 12 Gilbert Avenue, Smithtown. Was anyone here for that case? That is adjourned to July 12th. They all knew that there was no air conditioning tonight. Okay. The first case for tonight, then. Case 16448, Robert Jarrett, Inc., 1096 Jericho Turnpike, Comac. Location, south side of Jericho Turnpike Pike and Wyandanch Boulevard, Comac. Property zone WSI and R10. Request variance to permit environmentally sensitive land, slopes in excess of 15%, to be altered. Permit structures within 10 feet of any slope greater than 15%. Increase the maximum retaining wall height from 6 feet to 27 feet. Reduce the minimum retaining wall setback from 27 feet to 0. Reduce the minimum fence setback from a retaining wall from 27 feet to 15 feet. Reduce the minimum front yard landscaping from 8% to 4%.
Good evening, Donald King, 75 East Main Street, Kings Park, New York, attorney for the applicant. The board granted significant variances on the property immediately to the east under case number 16269, and I'm going to hand up that decision and a drawing that shows that property and the slight request that we're making, which is an extension of the wall from that property onto this property.
Thank you. Do we have this? I don't think we do have it. Okay. There isn't much in the file. Is okay. All right, why don't you go, and then if anyone has any questions, I will pass this down.
Yes.
Okay?
If you look at the plan I handed up to you, it shows you what you granted us in December, and there was significant variances. What we're doing here tonight, the wall extends westward from the property that you granted all of those variances on, onto the window and door property next door, and it's necessary for these variances to be, the variances before you tonight to be granted to complete the project next door. And that's why we're here this evening, for that slight kick out of the wall onto the property that's before you tonight.
Okay. All right, let me pass this down, I guess.
In view of the fact that you granted what you did last time, certainly this will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. It can't be achieved by some other method other than a variance, because in order to complete the project on the property east of the subject parcel tonight, we need the variance from you, request the variance. Is it substantial? It's certainly not substantial in view of what you granted to us on the other property. Will it have an adverse effect on the environment? No. Same reason. And is it self-created? No. We're here asking for relief. I just want to mention in passing, I did submit a letter to you concerning your prior approval on the property that you gave us the variance on in December, the property next door, and in my letter to you, I asked for a waiver of conditions. So if you have a chance this evening or whenever, please take a look at that letter, because there's one thing that has a significant impact cost-wise and otherwise on the original approval that you gave us, the property to the east. And that's about it.
Okay. Planning? Okay. Gentlemen, anything?
Is this that same type of retaining wall?
Yes.
That vegetated?
Yes.
What did they have a special name for it? Because
We
we
have-
probably condition it that it's that same type of.
We have a photo that we showed you last time. Would you like to see it?
No, I remember it. I just didn't remember what it was called.
Yes, it'll be this. Justin, would you come up? Justin Leah will tell you the type of wall that they intend to build on the adjacent property and on this property.
My name is Justin Leah. I'm an engineer with Foresight Engineering. We have offices at 58 Janet Street, Port Jefferson Station, New York, 11776.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
This is the same retaining wall system that we proposed on the Whitcon office building, the property to the east. It's the Evergreen Macro retaining wall system. And it Evergreen Macro, M-A-C-R-O. And it is a planted gravity retaining wall system. So it'll grow in heavy landscape and look green.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a second, Mr. King. You're asking, you presented a letter on the same case? The
Okay.
one before that we approved?
Yes, the one that you approved before in December.
And what condition was that?
The letter is in your in the packets.
The condition that we're asking you to waive, there shall be a 16-foot wide buffer along the southerly property line to remain natural with supplemental vegetation as required by the Board of Site Plan Review.
Okay.
And in my letter, I don't want to go into the details.
Nope, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, that's
that
it.
letter's in the letter. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Gentlemen, any other questions? Okay. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Come up, please.
Hello. Good evening.
May I have your name and address, and you're going to spell your last name.
Okay. My name is
Use the mic.
Ruth Torito, T-O-R-I-T-T-O. My address is 6 Wyandanch Boulevard, Comac, New York.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I certainly do.
Okay, are you going to speak?
Possibly.
Okay,
My name is Nick Torito. I live at 6 Wyandanch Boulevard, Comac, New York.
okay, you raise, do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay,
Well, we've been here before when the property to the east of the applicant's property came before the board for this retaining wall. And I went to the planning department last week and spoke with Mr.
Flynn?
Flynn, thank you. And he was very kind to show me all the plans. And we're very concerned about cutting into the adjoining property. I know Mr. Zitcom and obviously the applicant have made some kind of an arrangement so that the wall could then be extended into the window and door place so that Mr. Zitcom can tie into that wall. That said, because of the way our property is shaped, the pie shape, which I do have a copy, if you would mind, of my survey, I'll bring it to you.
Thank you. Right, yep, thank you, dear.
On the westerly side, which is the rear of our property actually narrows to less than 54 feet. And if the board grants this variance for this wall to be tied into the adjoining property in the rear, then we are going to have a 27-foot wall, not only on the entire north side of my property, but on the west side of the property. And we're going to be sitting up on a perch overlooking Jericho Turnpike. I disagree with Mr. King. I think that this will definitely impact the value of our home, the safety of our home. If a child gets out of the fence in the back of my property and this wall is back there, it could be a hazard. They could fall off of it. We are definitely going to be exposed to Jericho Turnpike. And when I went to the town planning board, I was told that the variance was granted for Mr. Zitcom's property, which actually surprised me because it's so foreign to what the board has done in the past. And my concern is that, and you know, the other thing Mr. King said is that there's no other, one of the variance conditions is that there's no other method to achieve this. Well, I disagree. I mean, I'm not the person that builds the wall, but obviously the wall could go north and south as opposed to cutting into the rear property. In other words, instead of making it cut into the westerly property, Mr. Zitcom could go north and south with the wall, or a wall, maybe not the exact type of wall, but it certainly then would not expose us so much to Jericho Turnpike. This is going to be awful for our property. And the buffer, I would like to address that because that's really, really important. One of the conditions, and Madam Chairperson, you were one in the very beginning that was very clear that a 16-foot buffer would be required along the entire length of the property so that our privacy would be protected, and I appreciated that. And now they're looking to take that condition off of the board. I mean, that's insane. I mean, the 16-foot buffer is the only thing that's going to keep our privacy in our home. And as a matter of fact, they didn't even address what buffer is going, if you grant this application, what buffer is going to be allowed on the adjoining property, the window and door property. And in looking at the plans with Mr. Flynn, I realized, and he realized, that a 16-foot, you could actually do more at that point. So we respectfully request that you deny this application. If you look at my survey, our survey, you see how narrow our property is, and it's that our house is set square on the front of the property, which is much wider. But when you're looking out, we're just going to be very open to Jericho Turnpike because of the shape of the property that the town back in 1974 or whatever allowed the builder to build the property. So we respectfully request that you deny this application. And if you don't deny it, if you feel that this is something that you can permit, we appeal to you not to lower the buffer.
Thank you.
And I have a letter that kind of outlines this, which I'll give to you.
Thank you.
There was one other question we had. We don't quite understand what a zero setback means when you have a buffer. You know, if there's a 16-foot buffer, how does the zero clearance work? I mean,
It's not on that point.
and also, since Mr. Zitcom is involved in this, The plan that is in the file, on his file, doesn't even show the 16-foot buffer all the way across the entire length of the property, even though the board, that was one of the conditions that the board had given him.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'd like to ask about this zero clearance, because what that means to me is that I'll walk up to my property line and look 27 feet straight down, and I can't surmise that front and back, and I wouldn't think about having a party with children and elderly people and somebody stray or something. I mean, it's a dangerous thing. I realize that property on Jericho Turnpike is expensive, and I'm not stopping them from building, but a 27-foot wall at zero clearances, if anything, keep the buffer. Thank you.
I just want to tell you that I'm going to bring Mr. King back up to answer some of your concerns, but I just want to tell you that there is not going to be a decision tonight.
Okay.
Okay?
We appreciate it. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Was there anyone else? Okay. Mr. King?
I'd like to say at the outset that this couple have been polite throughout this. We've talked, and I appreciate their concerns. The zero that we're referring to is that the wall runs to the property line. That's the zero setback. The buffer, when we are done, will remain 16 feet. We will vegetate that until there's no cows left to come home. Whatever the board wants us to do, in conjunction with their wishes as to vegetation, we will be happy to do. That's not going away, the 16 feet. But the zero is where the wall crosses the line. That's why the setback is a zero, because we're going across it to the property line, which has nothing to do with the setback.
Okay.
The property line to the west,
To the west.
not their property line.
Not their property line, correct.
Right. Okay.
But it's nice dealing with nice people, for a change, who don't scream and yell and who have a point of view that they should be heard. Did I get that look?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Already moved in second. All in favor? Motion carried. Okay. Next case is case 16449. Frank Liebgott, 15 Bob Ann Drive, Wisconsin, property zone. All right. Location, east side of Bob Ann Drive, south of Truval Lane, Wisconsin, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce minimum side yard from 12 feet to 1, existing shed. Reduce accessory structure setback from 2 feet to 1. Reduce minimum required setback of retaining wall to property line from 3 feet to 0. Is anyone here? Oh, you here? Come on up. Bring your things up. Okay, you're going to have to use that mic, and you can take the mic out if you need to.
Okay, is this
Let
all
me
right?
have your name, please, and address.
My name is Frank Lightgeb, 15 Boban Drive, Wisconsin, New York.
And will you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You want to tell us why you're here?
I'm here to get a variance on the retaining wall and a shed I have on the side of the yard.
Tell
Okay.
me a little more.
All right, number one, the variance would not produce an impact on adjacent properties in the neighborhood because in 1980, there was a previously granted a variance for the shed. When I bought the house, I tore the shed down. I subsequently put another shed up on the other side of the yard. Additionally, the retaining wall has been part of the property since it was built. I bought the property in 1995. It was there, put discussions with neighbors in the area. The retaining wall was always part of that house. When I bought the house, it did not show up as an issue on the title search. As to whether the crust is substantial, it's not because the retaining wall has existed since the home was built, and the variance to a similar shed was granted in 1985. The benefit cannot be achieved by another alternative because the retaining wall is holding up the house behind me. If you see the pictures, it's not decorative in nature. It's at a minimum 9 feet tall, and if we remove the retaining wall, Brown Road will come sliding down into my yard. As for the shed, also on the survey you'll see it's a small piece of land on either side of the house, so I do not have enough room to put the 8-foot clearance between my property line and the house for the shed. Variance would not cause an adverse effect, again, because the retaining wall is supporting the property behind me. And the shed doesn't pose any environmental risk. Again, there was a similar variance granted in 1985 before I bought the house. The difficulty was not created by the applicant because the retaining wall was there since the house was built back in the 60s. As far as the shed, I put the shed there. So, yes, that was created by me.
Waring, any questions?
No.
Gentlemen? Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
It's really moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16450, Robert and Jill Silvestro, 8 Rutgers Street, Smithtown location, west side of Rutgers Street, south of Howell Drive, Smithtown, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce minimum front yard from 40 feet to 35 for an existing 116 square foot patio. Reduce the minimum side yard from 12 to 8. Reduce the total side yard from 28 to 22 for an existing 45 square foot first floor addition. Are you the applicant?
Yes.
And may I have your name, please?
Jill Silvestro,
Okay, Jill. Your address, please?
8 Rutgers Street, Smithtown, New York, 11787.
All right, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Are you going to speak?
Maybe. Yes.
All right, let me have your name.
Robert Silvestro, also 8 Rutgers Street, Smithtown.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to have to use that mic and speak as clearly as you can. I apologize for...
Okay. The variance we are requesting be approved by the board is something we do not feel would produce an impact on any other properties in the neighborhood. They do not block any sunlight, they don't affect anyone else's property, and they do not block anyone else's view except to our backyard. There are many houses on our block who have added patios similar to ours to their house, and who have added extension to their houses. It seems like this would improve the value of the house. I have notarized consent letters from the 3 neighbors who live on each side of me and directly across the street from my house. Do you want them now, or?
No, you can give them to me in a little
Okay.
bit.
The request for the 45-square-foot addition, which is a pantry, was built prior to us purchasing this house 17 years ago. It was here when we purchased the house, and we were unaware it was never filed for until recently. I also have a notarized letter from a neighbor who confirms that this is accurate. The existing patio replaced an old wood landing, old bushes, and a broken-up cement walkway. We did not come out any further with the brick than what was already there, but the prior walkway may not have been in compliance with the town rules. We assumed they were. There is no portico with this, no electric outside, and no roof that extends over the deck. There is a railing around the patio. It's just a place for us to sit outside, and there are many houses on our block who have similar patios. I see no adverse effect on the environment with either of these structures and hope the variances are approved. Do you want me to go down the list of questions, or did I cover them?
Sure, go right ahead.
I do not feel there's going to be an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. The benefit cannot be achieved by any other method. They're both existing. I don't feel that they're substantial, the variances. I don't see any adverse effect or impact this would have. And the alleged difficulty, one was there before we bought the house, and the other one we did change.
Okay. Planning, anything?
No, thank you.
Gentlemen? Thank you so much.
Can I bring these up to you, the letters?
Yes, sure. Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Ready, moved and second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Next case, 16451, was adjourned to July 26th. The next case is case 16452, David Hirsch, 145 Kennedy Drive, Hauppauge, location, north side of Kennedy Drive, east of Planta Avenue, Hauppauge, property zone LI. Request variance to reduce the minimum parking from 116 to 82 spaces.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. My name is Kenneth P. Savin, S-A-V-I-N. I'm an attorney. I maintain an office at 54 Main Street, Northport, and I'm here representing Charles Leonard Incorporated and Chaling Corp. in connection with 145 Kennedy Drive in Hauppauge. Its owner, David Hirsch, is with us this evening as well. We have an owner-occupied warehouse and office space in the middle of the Hauppauge Industrial Park. Charles Leonard Incorporated is a wholesale distributor of office and school supplies, arts and crafts, and stationery products. The existing building has been there for quite some time. It's approximately 120 by 300 feet with 32,302 square feet of warehouse and 3,776 square feet of office. However, my clients purchased the building in 2003, and by then a mezzanine had been constructed over the office space, adding an additional 3,869 square feet of office space. We're here tonight to basically get that additional office space accrued. The building, when the site plan was originally approved, provides for 79 spaces with an approval of an additional 11 banked spaces. The building's current configuration requires a total of 116 spaces, and we can provide 82 without the need for any variances or land banking. We would like approval to provide the existing 79 spaces as shown on the site plan of D3 Architecture dated 1/7/11, which is the plan most of you appear to be looking at now. Believe it or not, 79 spaces is 4 to 5 times more than what is necessary. It's true that this is a warehouse, but Charles Leonard has a maximum of any time 22 employees, and the usual use of the existing spaces never exceeds the mid-teens. As for traffic in and out of the site, It is minimal, consisting of deliveries by 3 tractor trailers or containers per week, and UPS or FedEx of less than 1 per day. Outgoing inventory are by trucks or UPS, consisting of 3 or 4 box trucks or small trailers per day and 1 UPS truck per day. This works out to be approximately 7 vehicle trips in and out of the property a day. I have several witnesses, so I'll let them give you a better explanation of the situation as it complies with the project and the surrounding properties. The architect, David Dubinsky, is here should you have any questions, but I think I've adequately described, and you can see from the site plan you're looking at, it clearly shows what's there on the site. First, I'd like to ask our real estate expert and planner, John Condon. Mr. Condon, I believe, is familiar. The board may be familiar with him. He has testified here in the past, former deputy director of planning for the town of Huntington, and has, at this point, I think 40 years experience in planning and real estate. Mr. Condon, will you make a presentation for the board, please?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. John Condon Realty, 156 Iceland Drive, Huntington Station, New York,
All right,
11746.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I prepared a board here with some material on it. I'll bring it up a little closer after I finish describing it. The first item is a combination of Google aerial photographs dated recently in 2010 of the section of the industrial park in question. The second item in the lower end is a copy of a section of the town of Smithtown zoning map showing the industrial zoning in the area, with the piece in question in red in the middle. The third item is 2 sets of photographs, 4 photographs altogether, taken of the property Tuesday, July 26th in the afternoon, showing the lack of really need for so many parking spaces and the request for the variance. If I may, I'll start this up here. If you have any questions on it, and we'll answer them. After looking at the property and studying the area around it, it is my opinion that there'll be no change in the character of the area. The applicant has an existing building. This variance can't be sought by any other means. Considering the number of spaces that are absolutely necessary to run this operation, the variance, in my opinion, is not substantial. It may be a large number, but it's not substantial in terms of the actual need at the site. It will certainly not have any adverse effect on the character of the area, the surrounding neighborhood, and certainly not on any residential properties in the area. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
My only question is the parking spaces. It's advertised to have 82 parking spaces. Are 3 going to be land banked? Because you're saying you're only going to have 79.
I will let Mr. Saban address that.
We would like to continue to land bank those 3 as well as
Okay.
the other 8 that are already land banked as part of those 3.
Okay.
There are 79 spaces there. The building without this mezzanine requires 90. So 79 are provided, 11 are land banked. We can provide the other 3. Let me back up. When the 11 were land banked, parking was permitted in a front yard setback. Since then, with no parking permitted in a front yard setback, we could still provide 3 of those 11. They'd be in the front yard, but they would not be in the front yard setback.
Okay.
And the idea is we'd like to continue land banking. You know, effectively, yes, there's 90 spaces with 11 land banked, but we can provide the 82 if you thought it was necessary. As you can see from Mr. Condon's photograph, I think we have a traffic expert will testify further to it. Also, in your packet, there's a photograph. They are both Google pictures there, and he has counts and other photographs. They're all taken at different times. There's never more than 14, 15 cars at this site because, again, their maximum number is 22. There's sales staff that are often not in the building. They have other warehouses around the country. So it's, again, it's a warehouse. It's not like it's sitting empty, and when they fill it up, I've been in that building. There's photographs that the other expert will produce. The building is basically filled to its capacity. It's just the nature of the operation, being stationary, gets delivered in the large trucks on you know, as I said, 3 to 4 times a week, and goes out in smaller packages.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Anything else, Mr. Condon?
I don't, do you have any other questions?
When the board viewed the site yesterday, one of the questions that they had was in terms of the striping of the site. The parking lot is not striped at all. Is there any proposal to do striping?
It had been striped. I know when I was last year, was probably in December, there was some evidence of striping left. It's been years since it's been striped. I would assume through the ultimate building permit site plan review process that one of the requirements would be to restripe the parking lot.
Okay.
We'd
Good.
expect that.
Thank you. Okay.
I now like to call Mr. Norman Gerber. Again, I know Mr. Gerber has testified before this board in the past.
Let me have your name first and the address.
Norman Gerber Associates, 898 North Broadway, Massapequa, New York.
Okay. Now, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I have some panels to submit to the board
Okay.
for their edification and review. They actually
Use the
duplicate.
mic as much as you can, please.
I'm sorry?
Use the mic as much as you can.
They duplicate what Mr. Condon submitted. An aerial photograph close-up of the building on the north side of Kennedy Drive, and a location map showing where it is in the Hopog industrial area. I'm going to hand these up after I talk about it. These panels of photographs I took myself. I spent a considerable amount of time at the site and inside the building. There are 3 per panel. On the top of the first one, they're not numbered. Do you want me to number them?
No, that's all right.
Okay. Is the Charles Leonard Incorporated sign?
Are you going to submit these?
Yes, I'm going to submit them to the board.
Then you're going to have to label everything with the date, who took the pictures, the case number.
Okay, I'll do that after.
Okay, and then you can hand them in to us.
Okay. The second photograph shows the building itself. The third photograph shows the rear of the site, which is a large open area. The next photograph shows the rear of the site and the parking along the east side. So the second photograph shows also parking along the east side. The bottom photograph shows the employee kitchen inside. It is a very, very well-maintained building inside. Here we got a reception area, a conference room, and some of the products that Charles Leonard sells on a wholesale basis. 3 pictures of some administrative offices, and then 3 pictures of the warehouse, very, very, very large, extensive warehouse. There are 4 employees that take care of the warehouse, and a total maximum of employees of 20 to 22. Oh, here it is. I am also going to submit for each member. This package is for the board itself, but these are for each individual person. It shows on various times and dates that I counted the number of cars that were parked on the east side of the site. the largest number being 14. So while there is a requirement for 116 and a provision of 79 plus 11 land banked for 90, the most that you see is 14. So even if they had 22 there on a full day, there is still a tremendous underutilized situation with respect to parking. These I can hand up right now.
You can just give them to me and I'll give them out. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm going to number the panels when I sit down and then hand them up to you again.
Okay, thank
But if
you.
there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
I think we're fine. Do you have any questions? We're good, thank you.
Just a couple of questions I have, Mr. Gerber. Mr. Gerber, what is your opinion as to the impact of this application on traffic to and from the site and down the surrounding neighborhood?
It's no impact whatsoever. It's a very, very lightly used site, as I previously indicated.
No other questions.
Okay.
Finally, although you've listened to these experts' testimony, better than that is the 7 years' experience of the use of the site as proposed, because there are no intended changes to the site or the method of the operation of the business. As I indicated, this has pretty much been the way it's been since my client went in there. I understand when they first took over, they put in new carpeting and wallpaper. Just one final note, my client received today a letter from the town's Department of Environment and Waterways. Again, I said it was received today, saying that we need to get the approval of the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. We know that. In fact, we know that we will have to get a variance from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services Board of Review because of the use exceeds the water sewage outflows. We have a situation where we're confident we can get that variance because we have a 7-year history of water usage on that building. And yes, it goes up slightly in the summertime because this has a well-landscaped, manicured lawn and plantings in front of the building. Other than that, it's far from the square footage calculation that the health department uses. Therefore, I would ask this board if they're inclined to issue the variance, to issue a negative declaration, and if you feel necessary, condition this grant on the applicant obtaining the Suffolk County Department of Health Services approval, because it will be a condition that I know this town will impose before issuing a building permit for the approvals.
We don't make a decision until we get a secret, and we don't, until the health department, I guess, you get that variance, and then this, the environmental department will then issue a secret, and then at that time, we will make a decision.
So in the meantime, decision, I assume, would be reserved.
Will be, yeah, there'll be
Fine.
no action until then.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
If you have any questions of me or the witnesses,
I
feel
think
free.
we're good, thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Ready, moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16453, Vito Chin. Okay. 37 Crocus Lane, Comac location. Northwest corner of Crocus Lane and Apple Lane, Comac, property zone R10. Request variance, reduce the minimum front yard setback, Apple Lane, from 40 feet to 12 for a proposed 6-foot fence. Are they labeled? Are they labeled? Okay. Okay. Hi, may I have your name and address, please?
Vito Chin, Chin, and the address is 37 Crocus Lane, Comac, New York, 11725.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Well, first, I'd like to apologize. I didn't know what to expect. This is my first experience with something like this, so I don't have professional representation or photographs or any supporting, but
You don't need it.
okay.
Thank you.
What we're proposing to do is, well, my wife and I had just purchased a house last year, and we moved from Queens, an apartment, so we kind of came out here and in search of a nice house with a yard and front lawn, so on and so forth. It's a fairly large property, and currently the existing fence line kind of hugs the house line, I would say, which is about 40 feet off of the property line. And what we're proposing is to reduce the fence line from 40 feet down to 12, and also to install a 6-foot vinyl fence to create some sort of privacy and to increase the size of our backyard. If the variance is approved, both front yards, being the front yard that faces Crocus Lane and the front yard that faces Apple Lane, will still be significantly larger than the actual size of my backyard, let's say. So the square footage of the yards exposed to the streets will still be greater than what we have. Our intention also is to plant shrubs on the side of the fence that will face Apple Lane, so as not to seem, so that it better fits with the area. We have driven and walked around the neighborhood. It seems that most houses already have similar type structures or fences of that same height. And so we're just looking to fit in.
I just wanted you to know, we do visit the sites, so we were at your house on Monday.
And you'll see that I'm not sure if you have the pictures in front of you. It's significantly, we've made significant changes. We've hired a landscaper, and they've kind of tore up the entire backyard. The previous owners had neglected the backyard. So my immediate neighbors are looking forward to the work being completed so that they can kind of look out their window and not kind of squirm or,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Planning? Gentlemen? Thank you so much.
Great.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Ready, moving second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16454, Tina Bossi, 4 Apple Tree Drive, Hauppauge. Location, west side of Apple Tree Drive, south of Saturn Boulevard, Hauppauge, property zone R10. Request variance to decrease the minimum distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 5 feet for an existing 288 square foot shed. Decrease the minimum distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 0 for an existing 800 square foot deck. And your name, please.
My name is Tina Bossi, B-O-S-I. I reside at 4 Apple Tree Drive, Hauppauge, New York, 11788.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. I have a slight request today for 2 variances. One is to decrease the minimum distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 5 feet. In 1990, my husband and I had purchased this house. It was a foreclosure. We had renovated it, gone through the town for all of our permits and done everything. And we ultimately replaced an old existing shed with a brand new one. And my late husband had, I guess, miscalculated what was required, and when we just built it, I just found out years later that I'm too close to the property line, which happens to be the town of Smithtown water basin. There is nobody behind my property, but it's a recharge basin for the town of Smithtown. So to be quite honest, this absolutely has no impact on the neighborhood whatsoever. The next request is to decrease the minimum distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 0 feet. About 3-4 years ago, I took down a play set for my children, and I put up a ground level deck. And I butted up against the fence, thinking safety reasons. I didn't want any child or any person to fall between the cracks. I didn't realize that there was a setback. So I did butt up against the fence, and that is the second variance that I am asking for. I have lived in the house for 20-plus years. I keep a very well-maintained property. I've definitely increased the value of my house in the neighborhood, and it's just a slight request I'd like you to consider.
We did visit your house yesterday.
Okay?
How does your neighbor feel that you're right close up to the fence?
He's fine with it. He actually has a shed of his that is 6 feet next to mine. And I've lived next to him since I moved in. He's one of the original owners. And he's absolutely fine with it. And I'm sure he would be happy to write a letter, too, if that would make a difference.
Well, all right. Planning, any questions? Gentlemen?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Ready, moved and second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Next case is case 16455, Noreen and Timothy Rodin. What is it? Reardon. 8 Garden Lane, Comac locations, outside of Garden Lane, west of Parkview Drive, Comac property zone R10. Request variance, reduce minimum side yard from 12 feet to 7, and reduce the total side yards from 28 feet to 22 for a proposed 413 square foot first floor addition. Increase the maximum permitted paving in the front yard from 25% to 33%. And your name, please.
Timothy Reardon, R-I-O-R-D-A-N, 8 Garden Lane, Comac.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Are you going to speak?
I'm Noreen Reardon. I'm also at 8 Garden Lane, Comac, New York.
Okay. You want, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. You want to tell us why you're here, please?
We're planning to erect a single-story addition on the rear of our property. It's essentially 413 square feet. We are requesting to reduce the side setback from 12 feet to 7 feet. We're on that side of the property line is coming in a little bit on an angle, so that is the reason for that setback problem. There's not going to be an impact on the adjacent properties. There's still ample setback on the adjoining property, and that side of the adjoining property is a driveway. It's not, we don't consider it a substantial because it's only a small two-bedroom extension, and it's not going to have any it's going to have little impact on the environment or adjoining neighbors. This benefit cannot be achieved. We looked into planning on the other side of the property. There is a cesspool on that side, and there's also electrical lines coming in. In addition, we have an elderly mother
living upstairs on the second floor. Even though our house is not, it's set up like a mother-daughter, although it is not, we didn't file for anything like that. So to do anything upstairs, there's no room up there at all. There's not going to be any impact on the environment. There's adequate cesspools for the number of people in the household. And this difficulty was created by us. We need additional bedrooms for our 4 children, and so they can have their own rooms. As far as the driveway is concerned, it's the variance is to increase it from 25 to 33 square feet. It's an existing driveway. It was the existing driveway when we purchased the property back in 1997. So we're just requesting the variance to keep it the way it is.
Planning, any questions? Gentlemen? Do they have a Benjamin Politico? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Come up, please. Let me have that. I guess let me have it back.
Is question allowed?
Come up to the mic. Let me have your name, please.
Are the questions allowed?
Yes, you are, but first you got to give me your name and address.
My name is Julie Chun. I live at 10 Garden Lane. I
Okay,
think it's the
maybe-
east side of their property.
Okay, spell your last name.
CHUN.
All right, and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead.
My question is, when I received this letter, they said they're reducing the side yard from 12 feet to 7 feet. Does that mean that it's coming closer to our property line?
No, it's on the other side.
It's on the other side. So it's on the west side because I'm on the east side of the property. Okay. And they're not increasing sideways.
Not to you, not to your side.
That was only my question.
Okay? Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
It's ready to move in second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Next case is 16456, Jean Corsica, 38 Avenue K, Kings Park, location west side of Avenue K, north of East Northport Road, Kings Park. Property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 40 feet to 30 for an existing 35 square foot awning. Reduce the minimum front yard setback from 40 feet to 0 for an existing 5-foot fence. May I have your name, please?
Yes, my name is Sharon O'Brien, 54 Miller Place, Middle Island Road in Mount Sinai.
She's looking at your power of attorney.
She just didn't check off what, it's not a big deal, but she didn't check off what authority she's giving you. You know what I mean? The section where grant of authority is supposed to check off where?
Oh, the attorney that represents her filled it out.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I had no control over that.
Okay, but I'm assuming it's, actually, there isn't anything that says zoning. So usually people just write that in, but I'm assuming that she gave you authority over zoning
Yes,
matters?
there is a caption in there
Does it say
describing the procedure that we're undertaking.
Oh, down below, I see modifications. Yeah, I think you're still supposed to check off. Okay. It says any and all applications. Okay, thank you.
It's a 4-foot fence.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. I am Sharon O'Brien, and I am before you this evening as agent on behalf of Joan Gorsica, the homeowner of the residence at 38 Avenue K in Kings Park. I have submitted to council a fully executed limited power of attorney with return receipts. We are before you this evening seeking permission to maintain an existing small awning, 35 square feet, located above the front entry door of the residence, and an ornamental 5-foot fence on the front property line. I have a couple photos that I would like to submit to you. I took the photos June 22nd when I posted the property. As you can see, the fence is not a continuous 5 feet. It gradually lowers, then rises to 5 feet. Please note also the residence contiguous to the north of the subject is closer to the street than our awning. Even though the situations were self-created, by maintaining them as they stand, we feel we are not adversely affecting the adjacent property owners, the neighborhood, or the environment. Also, the benefit sought, which is protection from the rain, cannot be achieved without the benefit of a variance. If the board has any questions?
Planning? Gentlemen? Okay, no questions? Thank you so much. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Barely moved to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16457, Thomas and Charlotte Datra. 168 Jefferson Avenue, St. James, location west side of Jefferson Avenue, north of Roseville Avenue, St. James, property zone R21. Request variance to increase the maximum height of an accessory structure from 15 feet to 18 for an existing 50 square foot gazebo, increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the front yard from 25% to 40%, increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the north side yard from 25% to 97%, increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the rear yard from 25% to 68%, reduce the distance from any lot line from 1 foot to 0 for paving.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I'm Sharon O'Brien, as I was previously sworn in, and I'm joined this evening by Mr. Datre. He's the property owner.
Okay, let me swear him in, please. May I have your name, please?
Thomas Datre,
And your address, Thomas?
168 Jefferson Avenue, St. James, New York.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Would you like Mrs. O'Brien to speak for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good evening again. As previously stated, I'm Sharon O'Brien. The subject property is an improved property with 85.97 feet of road frontage along Jefferson Avenue, 238.19 feet in depth along the south property line, and 237.69 feet in depth along the north property line. We are before you this evening requesting to maintain an existing 50-square-foot gazebo with a height of 18 feet when 15 is permitted. Also, we are requesting relief for paving in the front yard, side yard, and rear yard. Mr. and Mrs. Daytree have 6 children, and Mr. Daytree is a contractor by trade. They own 3 personal vehicles, 2 commercial vehicles, and a trailer. Mr. Daytree, trying to keep his children safe off of Jefferson Avenue, which is a very busy street, and also to provide off-street parking for his vehicles, became very creative with the paving. The difficulty was self-created, and the request to maintain 96.7% of paving in the rear yard, 67.5% paving in the north side, and 40% in the front yard are substantial requests. By maintaining the paving, we are not adversely impacting the environment. The property is not located in an environmentally sensitive area. And since the properties on Jefferson are very deep at 200+ feet in depth, and because Mr. Daytree's yard is totally buffered with mature evergreens and stockade fence along the south property line, and a vinyl fence along the rear and the north property line, we do not feel we are adversely impacting the adjacent property owners or the neighborhood. Also, for the record, I'd like to state, on April 26th of this year, I was before this board with an application number 129939, 42 Arlington Avenue in St. James, and one of the requests was to maintain 58% existing paving in the front yard, and the board was generous in granting us 40%. We would respectfully request that the board consider that 40% granted in rendering a decision with this application.
Go right ahead.
You have a light pole in the rear of your yard?
Yes.
What's it there for?
Lights for the sports court. Oh, sorry. For the sports court in the back, when the kids play basketball and stuff like that.
How high is it?
Probably 25 feet.
How much?
25 feet.
You have 2 commercial
Yes.
vehicles
Yes.
parked on your
Yes.
park there?
Yeah, the truck that I drive every day. It's a pickup.
Okay. Planning? Nothing?
Would you like?
Yeah, go.
The board was at the property yesterday. One of the questions that was raised was the number of commercial vehicles that were parked on the site. Just so that the board knows, the zoning ordinance permits 1 commercial vehicle to be stored overnight, but with no signage on the vehicle. So.
I can just say, in conversation with Mr. Daytree this evening, he expressed to me that they had carpeting put in their residence, and because of moving all the furniture, they did borrow somebody's van. That may be the van that you saw on the property, and Mr. Daytree can tell you that himself.
Yeah, we just had carpets put in the house, and I borrowed one of my friend's box trucks. That's a truck that was in the yard.
We can't hear you, Indiana.
I borrowed a box truck, a Ford box truck. That was what was in the yard, and we have a bunch of our furniture in it, which we'll be emptying out by the weekend, and that'll be out of there. That's not my truck, that one. I drive a pickup that's commercial.
But is that the commercial vehicle that you have? You're telling me you have 2 commercial vehicles,
Yes, I have 2 commercial pickups. My son drives a pickup, and I drive a pickup.
and you're only allowed 1 on your property.
Okay, well, then I have to just get rid of one of them.
Gentlemen? Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Come up, please. Come on. We'll do one at a time, okay?
Yep.
Let me have your name, please.
Melissa Levine. I'm at 169 Jefferson Avenue, St. James, New York.
All right, spell your last name.
Levine.
All right, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead, honey. Well, let me have you speak first. Are you the same
We
name?
both reside at different name, same address.
Same address. Okay, let me then swear you in. Go ahead.
Give her your name.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Zavirbulis, Zvirbulis, at 169 Jefferson Avenue at 11780.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the
Yes,
truth?
I do.
Okay. All right, who's going to go first?
Regarding the variance that they are requesting, we've lived in that house since 1976 and have seen a lot of neighbors come and go. I'm sorry. Sorry. The issue has been, we've never had an issue with our neighbors in the past, whether they've been across the street, next to us, whatever, and we certainly don't wish to have any issues, at this point. However, the amount of noise that goes on at the residence at 168 and the commercial trucks, there are more than one or two there. In addition to the two that were stated, there's a flatbed that's there frequently. It has done extensive damage to my mother's house on more than one occasion. We've addressed it with the neighbors as well. Last summer and previous summer, it has torn up the front of the driveway, our pavement, our blacktop. It's knocked my mother's mailbox down last summer. A steel mailbox that was in from 1976 got knocked to the ground. It was out of the ground for a few days until we could get somebody to repair it. A new one was put in, and I don't know how many months after, that one has since been hit too. Our front yard has become a backup station for loading and unloading these vehicles, whether they're commercial vehicles, trailers, they're the big pickup trucks, which are their residential cars or whatever. The front yard has just been ripped up. Land-wise and everything. I pay to have a landscaper come every week, and because I can no longer do the lawn for her, and it's just almost like money out the drain. And I've addressed it. My mother's addressed it. So the issue is the noise, and the trucks are going till 11, 12 o'clock at night. They're running. They're loud, and the lights blare on them, and it's a disruption. It's a very big disruption to the neighborhood. Not to mention safety issue, because it is a very busy neighborhood and there are a lot of kids, and if you can't see where you're backing up, so it's a concern that I have.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to say anything? No? Okay. She doesn't want to say anything.
You don't want to say anything?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Hi. Let me have your name and spell your last, and take that.
There you go. Jeremy Hackett, 12 Amory Drive, Hackett.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. I just basically want to reiterate what they just said. There is quite a bit of commercial traffic in and out of the property. It's not that it's there every day, but there could be days there's a flatbed there. There's several commercial trucks in and out, and especially on the weekends when you're trying to enjoy yourself in your backyard and all you hear is trucks backing in and out and idling diesel trucks. It's I just don't want the additional paving to create a full contractor's yard there. It's I don't mind if they have a few trucks there. It doesn't bother me, but if it becomes where they run their business out of, it definitely does impact the neighborhood. I moved into a residential neighborhood, not something zone commercial.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, I guess, if you could ask why, if it's only that amount of vehicles, why they would need to do, I guess, 67% of the backyard, that's, I guess, my only question.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay. Do you want to answer?
I can answer them, we're not looking to run a business. I own a yard in Hopog, New York.
Okay. Madam Chair, may Mr. Daytree speak and tell you where his yard is? He will attest to the fact he's not running the business out of his house, and perhaps we can come to some kind of agreement with the neighbors. We certainly take in consideration their concerns, and we would like to resolve them. So Mr. Daytree will put on record where his yard is.
Okay. Come on up. Go ahead.
25 Newton Place, Hopog, New York. I have a warehouse in my yard. I have copies of actually all the vehicles. We have over 20-something vehicles that we own that are in my yard that wouldn't fit in my backyard at any given time if I wanted to. As for the noise coming and going at night, we have all of our vehicles or have performance vehicles, and they all have loud exhausts. My one son comes and goes a lot at night, and that's what makes all the noise for coming and going at night. Yes, there has been trucks there on occasions when we were doing work around the house on the weekend. We bring a machine home, the skid steer, to work in the backyard and do different things. There has been trucks there on occasions, not parked there as for working situations all week long where I store my trucks. I definitely have a big yard in Hopog that they're welcome to come see at any time where all my equipment is actually stored.
Do you have a flatbed coming to this piece of property?
Yes, I did. It was, it's actually a tractor trailer land all. We were bringing my skid steer home, and we were doing some work in the backyard and cleaning up, and we just did our garden recently, and we put a lot of rock boulders around the house and the landscape and all. So, we have our own machine skid steers and everything, so we'd bring them home with the flatbed. And, if we came home on a Saturday, we leave it over till Sunday and then take it to work Sunday, bring it back Sunday or Monday morning when we went to work.
So whatever the board would recommend, we would be more than receptive to taking it under consideration.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay. I don't know what that is. All right. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second. Ready, move the second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Do we need to take a break? Is that the? Is that the fire thing? Is it all right? All right, next case is case 16458, Joseph Miller, 25 Millen Avenue, Nesconset. Location, east side of Millen Avenue, north of Oak Street, Nesconset, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum front yard. It says 50 to 35, but the it's 40 to 35. So, for a proposed 119 square foot covered deck.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Joseph Pamilla. I live at 25 Milan Avenue.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
My girlfriend and I bought that property, that house, in September, and we've been working on it. It's in some disrepair. The front steps are beginning to deteriorate. We would like to put a front porch on the house with a roof over it. When we come in and out of that house, if it's raining out and you open the door to put your keys in, you get rained on. So it's just, it'd be decorative. It would make the house a little bit nicer looking. There are about, I think, 13 houses on the street, and I believe 5 of them have some sort of covered portico in front of the house. I think it would fit into the neighborhood. I don't really think it's, you know, would be obtrusive to any of the neighbors. And that's about it.
Planning? Gentlemen?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Gladly moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Case 16459 has been adjourned to July 12th. Case 16263, that's KP Associates, has been adjourned to September 27th. And case 16440, Smart Mart Express, 731A Middle Country Road, St. James, location northeast corner of Middle Country Road and Sunny Road, St. James, property zone NB. Request variance to increase the maximum height of 2 wall signs from 15 feet to 16 feet 4 inches. Increase the maximum number of wall signs from 1 to 2.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. Vincent Pizzulli with offices at 90 Merrick Avenue in East Meadow, New York, for the applicant, Smart Mart Express. Let the record reflect I'm going to hand up the affidavit of mailing and posting. I'm not used to speaking in an empty room. We had a hearing Tuesday night. We must have had 60, 70 people here just for me. So this is a treat.
A treat for us also.
The subject site is located at the northeast corner of Sunny Road and Middle Country Road in St. James. There's an existing small retail storefront building at that location that's set back approximately, I couldn't read the dimension off the copy that I have, but it looks like it's about 14 feet off the property line on Middle Country Road. The applicant is requesting variances to permit 2 wall signs instead of the requirement of 1, and both signs would be identical on 2 sides of the building and would only be 1 foot 4 inches above the maximum permitted height of 15 feet. The reasons for the request are really very simple. The first is aesthetic. If you have the exhibit that was submitted with the application, the sign, and in my opinion too, does look better when it's centered between the middle of the arch and the rooftop and the roof structure. To lower it to 15 feet sort of gives it an unbalanced look, and the client feels very strongly about that. The other reason, which I believe is more substantive, is for the number of variances. If you're driving by this location, because the building is located so close to the road, you don't have the same degree of visibility of the wall sign in the front that you would normally have with a building that's set back further from the street. So the additional sign on the west side of the building really helps the owner of the store get more visibility, which is needed at that location. That's all I have to say at this point. If you have any questions that I can answer, I'd be happy to.
Planning? Gentlemen?
Thank you
very much.
And have a good evening. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
It's really moved to second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Next case, 16441, AAA Properties LLC, has been adjourned to July 26th. Next case, case 16445, has been adjourned to July 12th. That concludes our hearings for tonight. Thank you so much.